Hello, everyone. Welcome to our another lecture on deviant behavior. I am Dr. Dilsora Fozilova. I'm very happy to be with you today. We're going to talk about punishment today and rational choice theory. Crime and punishment are fundamental aspects of criminal justice system. Aiming to maintain social order and deter unlawful behavior. By imposing penalties on offenders, society sends a clear message to potential wrongdoers or criminals about the consequences of criminal behavior. This discourages individuals from engaging in unlawful activities for fear of punishment. Punishment is seen as a way to restore moral balance by ensuring that offenders receive their just deserts. Through retributive punishment, society expresses its collective condemnation of the criminal behavior, reinforcing shared moral and ethical standards. The rule of law and the social contract ensuring that individuals adhere to agreed upon norms and values. As we talked in our other classes, social norms play a huge role in determining what is deviance and what is norm. Furthermore, the manner in which punishment is administered reflects societal priorities and ethical considerations, influencing public perception of justice system. A fear on effective punishment or a fear on effective punitive system can enhance public trust and legal institutions, whereas perceived injustices can lead to social unrest and lack of confidence in the authorities. One of the key frameworks for understanding criminal behavior is rational choice theory, or we call it RCT. This theory posits that individuals make choices or decisions based on a rational calculation of the costs and benefits associated with their actions. By applying this theory to crime, we can gain insights into the motivations behind criminal behavior and the effectiveness of various punitive measures. Rational choice theory suggests that potential offenders weigh the potential rewards of committing crime against the possible consequences, such as punishment or social disapproval. This cost-benefit analysis involves considering factors like the severity of the punishment, the likelihood of being caught, and the personal gains from the crime. According to rational choice theory, if the perceived benefits outweigh the risks, an individual is more likely to engage in a criminal activity. Conversely, if the costs are deemed too high, they will likely not commit crime. Understanding crime through the lens of rational choice theory has significant implications for the development of criminal justice policies and practices. By focusing on increased perceived costs of committing crimes through measures like heightened law enforcement presence, strict sentencing, or enhanced surveillance systems, policymakers can effectively deter potential offenders. Additionally, understanding the rational motivations behind crime can help in designing rehabilitation programs that address the underlying factors influencing the individual's decision-making processes. This lecture will delve into the principles of RCT, rational choice theory, explore its application in criminology, and discuss the strengths and limitations in explaining criminal behavior and informing punishment strategies. So what I'm going to do is I'll share my PowerPoint and we will start talking about punishment and understand punishment first, and then we will start discussing the rational choice theory. You can see here in our first title page a picture from one of the famous books called Crime and Punishment that is written by Dostoevsky. I don't know if you guys read it, but if you didn't, it's a very good book to take a look. All right. What is punishment? Let's explore that first. Many things we study in sociology seems like common knowledge, like we know what punishment is and why people punish others for committing crime or deviance. It seems like a very common knowledge, but let's delve into sociological understanding of what punishment is and why do we punish people. So punishment is introduced to us from the very, very early age, right? As babies, if we do something bad, like if we pull our sister's hair, then our parents are like, no, you can't do that, right? When you're bigger, if you spell stuff, you are maybe just, had a good talk, or maybe you are sent to your room for the rest of the day when you're bigger for doing something wrong. So punishment is introduced to us through primary socialization by our families, our parents, and then later on by our peers, and then teachers, and then that continues for the rest of people's life. Whenever whoever commits something, does something wrongdoing, then there's a punishment. So punishment is the authorized imposition of detrimental consequence or the withdrawal of a positive condition in response to a behavior deemed unacceptable or illegal by societal standards, laws, or regulations. So when the child is sent to their room that they cannot play with their friends, that is the withdrawal of a positive condition, right? In response to what they have done, right? Or if their, let's say, iPad is taken away for the day, that is kind of withdrawal of positive condition. Or there can be something different than that they have to sit and study for the rest of the day. We can look from the both sides. So the punishment is something negative introduced or imposed, or something positive taken away from the person for something they have done. What is punishment? Punishment is the infliction of some kind of pain or loss upon offenders in response to their crime. It can take forms ranging from fines, confinement, forced labor, capital punishment, and flogging. All of those are actually, this one is now we're talking about authorized punishments by the governments, right? Punishment is inflicted by the authority of the law and the sentence of a court. So why do we punish? Why do we punish people? Why can't we just be kind and say, okay, well, they made a mistake and we can just understand them from their point of view. Probably they wanted something, maybe they didn't want something. Maybe they were playful, maybe they were being bad that day, maybe they had a bad mood, maybe they wanted to do something adventurous, right? Why can't we understand them? So there's why. Punishment is a foundational concept in criminology and the criminal justice system, reflecting society's response to crime and its efforts to maintain order, justice, and public safety. So basically, if we say like, okay, they were being bad and they were boys being boys, or let's say they were having adventure, So what we're missing in society or letting happen is disorder. So we are just getting rid of this word here, right? Or justice, somebody gets hurt, and if we don't do nothing about that, that person will feel that there is no justice in society, right? And there is a third piece is public safety. If we allow things to happen in society without any punishment, if that is against public safety, that means we are kind of overlooking the public safety. Maybe they are putting some people's lives in danger, right? Examples of punishment, and you all know this, it can be incarceration, imprisonment in jails or prisons. It can be monetary penalties. If you drive too fast, you can receive this speed tickets, right? And then we have certain things like that requires paying quite a bit of money for doing something wrong. So by doing that, we're imposing some loss to that person who did that. Sometimes, this is best kind of punishment. Probation is also allowing people to remain in the community, but they are supervised, they are watched for a certain time. If they do what they have done before, then they can be in trouble. So this is kind of like giving them another chance without introducing some more harsher forms of punishment. Community services requiring offenders to perform unpaid work for the community. This usually happens if there's a loss to community from that crime. Capital punishment, that means somebody is too dangerous for society, or they have done such a thing that it would be, nothing else can be balance that crime. So if we want to do justice, we want to give them the highest crime. So what are the purposes or goals of punishment? Let's take a look at those stuff. So there is two things that is very important for society to have punishment introduced to people who are committing crime. First one is retribution, ensuring that the offender receives a penalty that is proportionate to the crime committed. There was satisfying the moral demand for justice. So what does it mean if somebody is first time committing crime, like stealing a chicken? Then there is maybe forgiving them for the first time, and then second time they do the same thing. There's a different kinds of punishments because that person is now didn't make a mistake. They know what they are doing. If they do more than few times, that means it became already habit, and then we need to punish them differently. We need to either we need to introduce them harsher punishment, or if they need help with counseling or anything, we have to do that. Retribution is, though, it's not about how to measure the crime, but just making sure the punishment they get is just. And criminal justice system, or actually the law and legal system, works on this all the time to make sure that certain punishments determined for certain crimes are fair and square. So the second one is deterrence. So by doing this, we are trying to discourage people from engaging in criminal justice system. We are discouraging people from committing crime. So there's two different kinds of deterrence. The first one is general deterrence. General deterrence aims to discourage the general population from engaging in similar criminal behavior. by setting an example through the punishment of an offender. So when we punish one person, society will know that person is punished for that crime. So that is introduction of, if you do the same thing, or letting people know that if they do the same thing, they can get a same form of punishment. Punishment is for sure happens if you commit crime. So that is for the general population. But there's a specific deterrence. Specific deterrence is preventing the punished individual from committing future crimes by instilling an understanding of the consequences of their action. Sometimes when we punish people, that works both ways. That is, the person themselves are kind of, we introduce the punishment to stop them from committing crime. Also, at the same time, they have friends, they have families. If they got to know that person is punished for doing this crime, so we are kind of spreading the word of, if you do criminal action, then you will get punished. So that kind of works the way general deterrence works. So there are different kinds of punishment beside that. For example, incarceration. Incarceration is kind of protecting society by removing the individual or restricting the offender's ability to commit further offenses. If somebody is, for example, stealing, robbing properties, like getting into the properties and stealing stuff from the properties, and there is so much damage involved with that. Also, there is psychological and emotional damage to the victims, right? Somebody is breaking in and getting their stuff. It's really bad thing. By removing them from society, we ensure that people have safety and they live their lives without worrying about that offender or somebody breaking in. And also, this is the way of not allowing that person doing that. So we are giving safety to the public, safety to the public. Also removing that individual from the environment they can commit crime, to the environment they cannot commit crime. Another purpose of punishment is rehabilitation. Reforming the offender's behavior and facilitating their reintegration into society as a law-abiding citizen through various programs such as education, therapy, and vocational training. So, for example, if somebody did not have any kinds of training, as a result, they were committing crime, they are doing small shoplifting or those kind of stuff, by introducing them education, therapy, and vocational training, we can give them now purpose or better way of living life. And so that person can be reintegrated into society and start working and stop doing crime. That is another purpose and goal of punishment. Restorative justice. Restorative justice is repairing the harm caused by a crime by involving the offender, the victim, and the community in processes that promote healing and reconciliation. So now we are talking about not only offender, not only society, that we are talking about whole three pieces here: offender, victim, and society. So restorative justice tries to help the offender by, just maybe providing vocational training, maybe returning them to society, maybe they will go through this probation, they will be talking to a counselor, and there is a healing process. And restorative justice kind of looks at criminal behavior as you know, that as illness, so it can be repaired, it can be healed. That person, when they have better purpose in life or doing things better, they can heal and become a healthy part of society. So there is a theory, we call it reformative theory, that is about the rehabilitation processes. So the rehabilitation or reformative theory basically thinks that the offender is the offender is kind of somebody has disease, or crime is a kind of disease, and the offenders should be treated so they can recover from it. So basically it focuses on the idea that nobody is born criminals, so society makes them criminal, or society pushes them towards crime, so that crime needs diagnosis and proper treatment, so that person is the person is free from it. For example, if you have infection, if you get flu in fall or spring, and then your body is fighting against this virus, right? And then certain time you will be ill, your whole body is ill, and you're going through the symptoms, you're suffering. It looks at this theory looks at offenders like they are suffering from certain illness, and then they need a proper treatment and diagnosis so they can become healthy again and return to the society. The idea behind this is, as I mentioned, there is no one born criminal, and criminals also humans. Rehabilitation intends to give support offenders to stop criminal habits and impose their character, confidence, and self-vision. That it believes that if the person is confident and they have they trust in themselves, they have higher let's say confidence and self-vision, then they are out of this illness and they will not commit crime. By doing certain or helping them to do that, the rehabilitation or reformative theory tries to help offenders to become healthy individuals in society. The rehabilitation method of punishment is influenced by positivist views. It believes there is no rational calculation while committing crime. There are some external forces. People are not rational when they are doing that. There are, for example, if they're hungry, that hunger forces them to go and get some stuff. If they don't have the money, then they are going and stealing something and trying to do something. If they are too hurt, they are numbing themselves by drugs, and all this kinds of stuff can happen because of the societal forces. And the rehabilitation theory believes that people should be treated, not punished. The external forces can be biological, psychological, or sociological, and they are not capable of controlling their criminal habits. They really need help. And I do believe that criminals need help sometime to change their habits. They have to be rehabilitated instead of giving severe punishments in order to restore them back into society. So I wanted to give you a quick explanation to what expiatory theory is. This is the theory usually used by the religious or cultural factors. According to this theory, when a criminal is punished, they become innocent and considered forgiven. So in certain religions, like if you go and tell about your actions, and then there will be maybe some sanctions, and then if you go through them, you become pure, so you consider it as innocent. For example, in Islam, expiation, kafara, is used to purify Muslims from the sins and offenses they have done. Like there is a main idea, there is a God is forgiving. So if you accept the fact that, or admit the fact that you commit crime, you did something wrongdoing, and then you can be sorry about that, pray for it, and then you can be forgiven. Similar practices exist in many other religions and cultures. The deterrence theory, as we mentioned already earlier, states that purpose of punishment is to stop crime or stop other people from committing crime by giving exemplary criminals from the society by spreading deterrence. Okay, so deterrence theory, as we mentioned earlier, has two purposes. The one of them is stopping other people who is seeing this from committing crime by delivering the punishment to the person who committed crime. And the other one is stopping the criminal or offender themselves from committing crime by giving them a punishment. Punishment is seen as a lesson to reduce ration of crimes. Offenders are examples and warnings to others. So if somebody commits crime, and we can often see on TV or on radio, the certain people who are in the court are going through certain processes. Right now, we can see Donald Trump is going through court processes for some felonies and other things. So one of the richest people in the country is going through these processes, and that tells that Allah is above everybody. And then he tries everything. He uses his money. He uses the best lawyers out there to get away with it or get out of that court cases. But you can see that still there is some punishments for sure given for certain behaviors. The question comes to mind is, does deterrence really work? If we punishing somebody, do other people learn from their mistakes, or that person themselves, can they stop doing that because of this punishment? It's a really good question. And the answer deterrence theory gives us is it depends. There are different sorts of people or different sorts of offenders, and deterrence may differ depending on who we are talking about. They are acute conformists, probably they will nothing can stop them from doing what they are doing. There are incorrigible offenders. They already got to the point nothing really matters for them as well. They already made it habit. And there are also deterrable offenders that maybe big portion of society are deterrable offenders, that our hope is at least these people can stop committing crime because of the shortness of punishment. Also, risk sensitivity may play a huge role in it. Offenders who try to hide identity choose secluded places for deviance. For example, if people are away from their own town, where they have a lot of relatives and brothers and sisters or a lot of friends, they try to not do anything deviant in that place. Probably if they are away from home, they take more risks, because reputation in society matters, how people are viewed within society matters, that tells us deterrence really works. Because when people don't want to be viewed badly, or they don't want to lose the reputation between their friends or families, so that is that the connection between families and friends can work sometime. Experiential effect: the more frequent the deviant act, the less likely deterrence will work. This theory tells us if the person is committing crime frequently, then there's no way this deterrence really work. Why? Because there is another theory tells us once people are going through these processes, now they know what will happen, and that now they are used to that. They're not scared of it. If people never did that, probably they are more scared of by seeing general deterrence that other people are doing and getting, that they are getting punishments, maybe they are getting jailed and other stuff. So that might work better for them than themselves going through these processes. So there is some modifications to the deterrence theory because of this why and why not it works or doesn't work. The modifications to the deterrence theory says that maybe if there's less family attachment, deterrence does not work well. Maybe informal sanctions from family and friends are better for deterrence to work. If there are families punishing somebody for wrongdoing, or friends are punishing, informal sanctions, that probably works better for explaining the deterrence by deterrence framework. Informal deterrence, actual or anticipated social sanctions, have more empirical support than traditional deterrence theory. Now we are saying that traditional deterrence theory is about like, okay, there is a general punishment, there is individual, the individual part of deterrence or general part of deterrence. One of them, when we punish somebody, society learns from it. Or when we punish somebody, that individual themselves learn from it, and then they will not commit crime again. But the new changes says that actually it works better in the informal situations. Traditional ways of thinking does not always work. Formal punishments works best when they combine it with informal deterrence. Is that still deterrence theory? So if formal way of punishments combined with informal ways of punishment, like punishment with the families. If, let's say, if a student or a child commits crime, maybe steals something, then there is a formal sanction that that person is paying penalty for the first time, right? If family is involved with that, if friends involved with that, letting them know that this person commit crime, and probably one part, that person will be very embarrassed, and that can cause other damages as well when you think about that too. But on the other hand, people knowing about that would be probably more stronger punishment towards that crime. That makes us think maybe that is helps us stop crime. So what is rational choice theory? So rational choice theory considers or calculates the cost and benefits of that crime. It says we think that people are irrational when they are committing crime, right? But rational choice theory says, no, that people always think about the costs and benefits of that crime. If there is a risk of arrest, risk of punishment, they may not commit that crime. If there is the ability to succeed without getting punished, that if we calculate the greatest satisfaction they get, and then maybe they will commit crime. So if they commit crime or not depends on the cost and benefits of the crime for the individual. It is kind of extension of deterrence theory, because deterrence theory was just kind of telling us that, if people are, punished and they can learn from it, or if they have families knowing that, or family gives some informal sanctions, they may not commit crime. It's just kind of seems like the extension of deterrence theory, based on expected utility principles. Now, when we say about the expected utility principles are like, if you're gaining anything, if our gain is more than loss, then we will go for that action. If our loss is more than our gain, why should we do that, right? That is basically the expected utility principle. The main provisions, people make, that is coming from Carnish and Clark, 1986. People make rational decisions based on the extent to which they will maximize benefits and minimize costs. Now we are talking about efforts or rewards versus severity of punishment or costs or losses to the individual. It assumes that criminals are rational actors. They do everything based on the benefits and costs of that action. And then the question comes like, there is that is not pure rationality. If somebody is committing crime, that is not pure rationality. We are talking about rationality within this irrational behavior, right? So that don't get caught up with when we talk about rational choice. We are talking about rational choice while we are in the irrational zone, right? It is kind of like a blurry line here. So research on the rational choice theory. Some moment in the history, rational choice theory gained its popularity in sociology or criminology. But after that, there is a lot of criticism, questioning this rationality part, and then questioning all other parts. And then there was considerable amount of research done in this area. One of the researches is by Tunnel, 1990 and 1992, that says that not empirical support for pure rational. So rational choice theory is not talking about pure rationality. Interviewing offenders and found their assessment of risk illogical and unrealistic. So when they are assessing the risk, now we're talking about rationality, right? When they're assessing the risk, probably they never assess it logically. If somebody is going and stealing something, the rationality is like they don't get caught up. And that's why new research kind of questions the pure rationality in the rational choice, right? And criminals were enabled to make reasonable assessments of risk of arrest, did little planning for the crime, and were uninformed about the legal penalties. Now, the rational choice theory, if it's all about risk and benefits, people should think about that beforehand, right? Assess the risk, assess if there is a risk of arrest, assess or plan the crime, and probably they need to know all about these penalties in case if they get caught. But usually when they commit crime, they do none of them. But there is the other part. Some very established criminals probably do that. They will learn about everything. They will learn the risks, and if there is a risk of getting caught, or they plan their crime very well, and then they are also informed about the legal penalties or what can happen, right? Most people, though, we are talking about average society, right? They do not think they get caught. So the second argument in the research on rational choice theory is the weak to moderate support for limited rationality. Now we are talking about weak support or moderate support for rationality. Due to weak support for pure rationality, researchers claim limited rationality. So now we should call that not rational choice theory, maybe limited rational choice theory, right? When limited rationality is added to other variables such as effective ties and informal social sanctions, empirical support becomes moderate. So if we add that, earlier we talked about if we add formal sanctions to informal sanctions, the deterrence will become more feasible, or deterrence will become stronger. And the same thing applies to rational choice theory. If we are adding informal social sanctions to formal social sanctions, then the empirical support becomes moderate for rational support, rational choice theory. I'm repeating myself here. And this is our class today. So we talked about punishment. What is punishment? Why do we punish people? We talked about different kinds of punishment. And most importantly, we talked about the objectives or purposes and goals of punishment. And then we talked about a couple of theories why people commit crime. We talked about deterrence, and we talked about rational choice theory. And the criticism towards rational choice theory, we said that rational choice theory is criticized for when we talk about rational choice, we are talking about limited rational choice because people don't know about the legal system and penalties given to their crime. They don't plan their crime. They don't think about being caught for this crime and all of those stuff. I hope you like the lecture, and if you have any questions, you can send me an email or you can send your questions to discussion board. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.